when you move to the 6th century, we document 6th century Arabic script inscriptions.
Arabic script, right?
The Arabic script. These are inscriptions that paleographically fit in the, let's say, century before Islam, or can also be contemporary with early Islam, the beginnings of Islam. These texts continue the trend that we see across the Arabian Peninsula, that they have a monotheistic vocabulary. There's no invocation to the ancient gods, but rather they're invoking the one God, using terms like al-ilah, using terms like Allah, using terms like Rabb. And this is so the area around Taif basically is in line with the trend that we see everywhere. So there's a huge, relatively huge. 30 years ago, if you opened up an article on Arabic script inscriptions before Islam, there were 4 maybe. Mm-hmm. Now there's probably around 40. So the corpus is expanded and it continues to grow. Mm-hmm. And of this, anytime there's any information that has to do with religious identity, it is, broadly speaking, monotheistic. And what do I mean by monotheistic is that it does not mention the ancient gods that we know so well from the pre-Islamic inscriptions.
We could say with some degree of confidence, now that we have more than just a handful of inscriptions, that monotheism arrives to the Arabian Peninsula, and now with your work, even to the Central Arabian Peninsula, not with Islam, but before Islam.
I would say that, and of course, that's the Quran is obviously the witness to the same thing, because the Quran is engaging with a monotheistic audience too. So what we are actually finding now is very much in line with the picture of Arabia that we get from the Quran. It's no surprise. It is the picture. It contrasts with the picture of Arabia that we get in, for example, Kitab al-Asnam from Ibn al-Kalbi. That picture of Arabia,
sort of idolatrous pagan culture.
Yes, precisely. Because you see, we could put the area of Taif aside, but when we look at other places, for example, like Dumat al-Jandal was supposedly the center of the worship of Wad, as we get in the Kitab al-Asnam. But the inscriptions available to us from Dumat al-Jandal show that before Islam, their main deity was called Al-Ilah, the God.
Yeah, the God.
And they like to put crosses on the inscriptions as well.
Which is it's actually a little hint of something.
And what's even just as I love Dumat, the case of Dumat al-Jandal as a laboratory, because see, Dumat al-Jandal has an uninterrupted epigraphic documentation that stretches back to the middle of the 1st millennium BCE. Mm-hmm. And it documents the pagan phase where they had all these gods and everything. And then, of course, the transition to Al-Ilah. Okay, so that's all there in the fossil record. Who is the god who was never invoked at Dumat al-Jandal anytime in the pre-Islamic period is Wad.
That's incredible.
He never was there. Wad was in ancient Yemen. Yeah, Wad was in ancient Yemen.
Okay.